Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. And in this video, as you can see, there's been quite a few changes with the game room over here. Just like in my, actually I don't know when that video's come out compared to this one, because I'm also recording one that's in the computer room where I'm saying the exact same thing because I did a lot of changes in the computer room as well. So it just depends on which video comes out first. Anyway, in this video, we're gonna be taking a look at the mess that is my home server and network, and how things are now currently set up, so that when I do future videos, we can see the slow evolution of my very janky home network setup for both the home and the channel as it goes forward. So let's get into this very somewhat, well, not fully planned out network vlog is what I'm gonna call it. Yeah, it's a network vlog. So first I need to mention this video is very roughly cut together. I don't have a lot of detailed footage of me doing most of the stuff in this video, especially me running cables and outlets, since I was constantly running up and down the stairs, constantly leaving the house to go run some errands, get some more parts and hardware. I just didn't want to keep having to move and set up the camera. So as a result, this video is going to probably be more along the lines of a typical vlog in which I'm just going to be talking. I don't blame anyone if this isn't their cup of tea and you don't watch the whole thing through. But for those who do know about networking and want to get a good laugh at somebody who has almost no idea what they're doing and only a very vague sense of things struggle to do anything with home networking, then keep watching and maybe I'll entertain you for a little bit with being an idiot. Now, to kind of explain why this is a huge deal for why we finally have fiber, this means much, much faster internet speeds. No duh, right? Well, prior we had this really small dish-like thing on the house. Think of like a poor man's Starlink, kinda, sorta. Basically, you had to have a direct line of sight to another satellite dish that was being bounced off signal from the internet provider in the small town that I live in. Now, it was fine for the most part, and we really had no complaints, but it, again, needed a direct line of sight. So any snow on the dish, very heavy snow, or even a tree branch in the way, and our reliability went out the window. Now, in my little rural state here, there's been a huge push anyway to have fiber finally ran, not just for the faster speeds, but for the reliability factor. A lot of older cables were ran either on telephone lines, they were old cable box lines, they were old basic phone lines, they were a variety of things, and it led to there being a lot of different, well, standards of stuff going on. With fiber, it was all going to be standardized, and, well, since it was going to be underground, a lot less likely to just lose service if there was a storm. Now, a lot of bigger cities like the state capital and some of this other, well, much larger cities in my hometown, they've been working around the clock, around the calendar, you know, as new streets are being built, as old streets are being retrofitted, just hammering out getting fiber ran. And as a result, a lot of the smaller towns are getting this trickle-down effect as well, running fiber to all the houses from internet providers at main central hubs. Now, with my hometown, there was a whole crap ton of issues with this that was going on. And I wish I was kidding by what I'm about to say, but I'm not. This is exactly what happened, because I watched at least three or four different companies do this. One company was hired to do a lot of the surveying and marking as to where a lot of the underground lines in terms of electrical, gas, and water mains were at. Another company was hired to come in and underground bore with their machines and run the conduit for all the main lines, all the hubs, and all that kind of stuff. Another company was hired to come in and install the junction boxes where all these conduits were supposed to be ran, and also get stuff ran to the houses. And then another company was brought in to run all the stuff from the junction boxes to the houses. And then the final company was running the junction boxes to the main central fiber hub and then get everything hooked up and switched over. As you can imagine, there was a crap ton of communication issues. And let's just say I know there's been a couple streets in my hometown that's had to be completely dug up because there was some water main damage and electrical damage from these boring machines. Now, the town I live in is much smaller and also has one of the area's internet service providers. They decided to bypass all that headache and buy all the equipment themselves. They bought the transport trucks, they bought the trailers they bought the boring machines, they bought the surveying equipment, they bought the conduit, they bought the reels and miles of fiber optic. And after just a few months, they had everything bored drilled, connected, junctioned, and ready to go, and ready to switch over. Now, when I asked them what kind of speeds they were talking about, they said they were going to cap it at everything at the house at 1 gigabit. They had the equipment to go much faster. I think they said 5 gigabit for right now with their transponders, but they wanted to stop at 1 gigabit, just I guess for sanity's sake. And we decided to go for a much faster package than what we had prior. Even though we didn't go up to gigabit, which was still highly affordable, we decided to go with 250 megabit up and 250 megabit down, which is still much faster than what we had before. How much faster? Well, I wish I was exaggerating, but I'm not kidding. 10 times. Our prior internet package with a little satellite dish on the roof was 25 megabit download and 10 megabit upload, which when it came to content creation and it came to making videos and uploading things and downloading files for content creation was a major pain in the. And to make matters worse, the reason why this was kind of a headache also, our router and the satellite dish was in the back of the house. I mean, everything from my computer to the Xbox had to be down in the living room since the router wasn't strong enough to go through several walls. Even our cell phones had low signals and it couldn't be moved since there was no basement under the addition. I had to either go through the exterior of the house or pay someone to go through the ceiling. So when they asked where we wanted the new incoming fiber and router, I told them the front of the house. Anyway, now that we had faster internet, now I was slowly planning on doing some networking for the house. I was planning on putting the server down in the basement at some point. This was so that I could run Ethernet to every room in a much easier, better way without having to pay someone to do it. But as you can guess from the fact I'm making this vlog video, we had to bump up that timetable up quite a bit. That's mainly because my wife needed a home office for her work from home job, and we decided to clear out a nearly unused room and do it that way. So after a trip to my local big box store known as Menards, getting some network cables, some Ethernet jacks, some crimping tools and such, I got to work. Okay, so I got all this phone line stuff off, and this is weird. Like, the previous owner had 2 lines of a Cat 5e cable tapped or stripped off and connected to the phone jack, and then being fed to the wall. I don't know what the point of that is. Like, maybe he was just trying to get communication somewhere, but why would you need to backfeed through a phone line for that? Especially just 2 wires. And because the reason why that's unusual is because technically, yeah, you can wire 4-wire phone jack cable like this as a really crude Ethernet. It's really slow. I think it's not even 10100. I think it's like 10 megabit. But yeah, not sure what he was trying to do here. I'm gonna rip these wires out of the wall, but I might see where this Ethernet wire goes and see if I can. If it's damaged, I'm going to replace it anyway, but since it's already in the wall, I might see if I can use this to run Ethernet to this room for my wife's office. So let's see where it goes. I found later that weird 2-wire Ethernet cable was actually running outside to a junction box that had a phone line attached to it. I think that was the old DSL, and for whatever reason, instead of using phone line, they used, well, it makes sense why they use external grade Ethernet, but they use external grade Ethernet with just 2 wires to run it to the phone line to have it for dial-up. It was a weird system. Now, I don't do nearly enough, and I mean at all, stuff like making network cable ends and stuff, so I had to look at a few diagrams, which was extremely confusing since there was like 3 that I saw that were all similar yet different. But in the end, I got it. After a few hours of cutting and making ends and remaking ends and recutting cable and doing a bunch of stuff multiple times over, I had a very janky yet functional home network. This bundle of wires here, which I didn't do this. This was the previous owner. He was trying to do something. Like I said, he was one of those home DIY home guys. But this is the stuff coming from my router. And yeah, the router's not down here because it is my Wi-Fi access point, so I want that upstairs anyway. But yeah, I have the incoming Ethernet being gray, which then comes into my little gigabit D-Link switch here. And then the 2 outgoing here that are blue goes to one to my computer, one to her office. And then this black one here goes into the switch. Everything's on gigabit, and transfer speeds are actually really good. But yeah, it's super pretty. Yeah, like I said, the previous owner of this house was not very tech savvy, and he did a lot of stuff himself. I've been fixing a lot of stuff that he did himself. But yeah, it's a janky little network setup. I do want to get an actual full size, or not full size, a rack of some kind for right here to put this server in, because I do have some other networking stuff I want to do for the house here, including a bigger switch, because I do plan on having every room have an Ethernet jack. Yes, I have Wi-Fi, but I kind of like the idea of having hardwired Ethernet for a lot of my main computers. That way, its transfer speeds are faster. Plus, I do have plans for another server that's going to go in here. That's going to be more for more on retro computers from like DOS, Windows 95, Windows 98, Mac OS 9. So yeah, that's all future plan stuff. So yeah, like I said, this is extremely janky, and I'm pretty sure everyone who watches LTT is probably looking at me going, "Oh my god, that's a horrible way to do networking." It is, but it's working for the moment. So yeah, can't complain. So now that I'm at this point, you're probably wondering, well, now what? I have a working server, working network, and everything's fine. What else do I need to do? First is I want to get a proper server rack of some kind, whether it's one I buy or build, one that's for the right height for my basement down here. That way I can install my server, switch, any other network stuff I want to put in there, maybe other servers, router, anything like that I can put in there, tidy it up, and make it look like I actually might know what I'm doing. And while yes, that 5-port switch is working fine for right now, it's not nearly enough for what I have fully planned and envisioned for my house here, both involving just general home network stuff and also for the channel. Because my final goal is I would like to have every room in the house to have its own Ethernet jack. That way all the computers that are connected can all be on a home network, and they can all file share off each other. This is including the game room here. I'd love to have an Ethernet jack in here for my game capture PC, have one in the computer room that I can have a laptop set up and plugged in with hardwired Ethernet. That way there's no wireless problems when I'm trying to do any recording, transferring files, or even doing live streams, which that's kind of something I want to do at some point in the future, is do live streams. I don't want Wi-Fi to be a limiting factor. And also maybe run a line out to my garage. That way if I'm doing anything out there, I can have a hardline Ethernet for direct capture and transferring files that way. And the reason why I can do this is because I do have an older, it's still functional, 24-port PoE style switch, which also means, with it being PoE, I can install more security cameras on my house. I have a few already at some key spots, but obviously more is better, right? Now you're probably wondering, well, that's not 24-port. You could probably get by with a much smaller one. And yeah, I probably could. But if I'm thinking right, and I've read up on the documentation on this particular switch, it's a Netgear switch, I should be able to split the 24 ports into 2 separate 12-port switches using VLANs. One running all the stuff that needs to connect to the internet, my computer, my wife's computer, any of the other Ethernet jacks down here in the game room, the computer room, stuff that needs to connect to the internet for, internet stuff. And I think I can also set up a isolated VLAN that's not connected to the internet in any way, shape, or form, that I can use to network vintage computers. My Windows XP and Windows 7 computer, maybe a Windows 98 computer, one of the old vintage apps like the iMac. I can have them all networked together with some sort of central file server that would be a lot faster than trying to use CDs, floppy drives, and zip drives when I need to move files over. But that's a very far future thing. I need to come up with a rack first. It needs to be a certain height, obviously, and be able to hold a few things, because obviously I want to put more in it than just my main server and the 24-port switch. I would like to take my current server that you saw and split it up. Obviously have one set up for all my current long-term storage YouTube stuff, but also have another one set up for video editing, maybe Jellyfin. But yeah, with that being said, thank you all so much for watching this very rough networking vlog video. Like I said, I don't have a lot of detailed footage of me doing this stuff, so it's just mainly me talking, and I just didn't want to keep moving the camera around all the time. I'm pretty sure a lot of you have laughed and watched me struggle trying to make Ethernet jack ends, just because of the fact that it's not something I normally do, and I had to learn how to do it for this, but it's better than paying somebody to do it, right? Especially since I didn't screw anything up and it's all working. It took a few tries to get it, but I got there in the end. And I know a lot of you guys are looking at me going, well, why the heck do you even do it this way? Why'd you even have to do it that way? Like I said, I'm on a very small budget with YouTube as it is, and trying to also network stuff that I was trying to save up for to get fixed in the future, but had the timetable moved up. It needed to be done right now, and there was just no time to waste. If you have any thoughts or comments on how I can make my network set up better, or how to set up a network correctly like how I was talking about, put it in the comments and I'd absolutely love to hear it. Or if any of you home lab hoarder guys have any small racks that you could donate to the cause, that, you know, maybe not be a floor mount, maybe I could just screw it to the studs on the other side of this wall and have it hang there, then, you know, who knows? Hit me up in an email and maybe we can chat about it and see how things go there. But for now, I hope you all enjoyed this really rough, janky network vlog, and I'll see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching.